So why was the Taft students so pro-Allied before we were in the war?
Well, I think there are a number of reasons for that. In those days, your prep school crowd was predominantly ethnically Anglo-Saxon. I mean, this is going way, way back, you know, and the English stock was very predominant, particularly here in the Northeast. The second thing is, I think the Allies did a beautiful job of propaganda, and the Germans did a miserable job of propaganda. I think the Germans were politically inept, and by that I mean that they erred in their judgment torpedoing the ships, for example. That infuriated everybody in America. I think those were the main reasons. You see, another thing is, in those days, and we're talking now about 55 years ago, the bulk of your students were, as I say, the old Anglo-Saxon ethnic stock. And you didn't have the tremendously wide diffusion of nationalities and boys that you have today. I think that's one reason why. But of course, in the Middle West, in Wisconsin, around Milwaukee, where there was a very heavy German-American population, their sympathy, until we got in, was pro-German. But by and large, the country was pro-Ally, and particularly in the prep schools.
Okay, getting to Taft, Taft life during this period, I noticed in the past that I've read, in the old articles and so forth, that there was a really strong sense of duty, a very strong sense of duty, and this really carried over into the war when the America got in the war, and it was sort of assumed that it was every student's job to become a soldier.
That is very true.
Now, what could you attribute this to? Was it Mr. Taft? Was it the school? Was it the times?
I think it was the feeling of the times. I think that we felt that the Germans had started the war unwarrantedly, that they had been guilty of a great number of atrocities. How true that was, as I look back, I don't know. And they really were stupid in picking on us, you see. And that, I think, is the thing that caused a very strong pro-Ally feeling, a very strong feeling of wanting to get into it, become soldiers. I mean, it was a far cry in those days from the Vietnam situation. Vietnam is an unpopular war. But in those days, we felt that we'd been forced into it, and we were fighting defensively. And therefore, it was our duty and privilege, if you want to say, to get it over with.
Were you in the Taft battalion?
Yes, from April 1917 to June, when I graduated. And then I was in the ROTC, the Reserve Officers Training Corps at Yale, that following fall and winter. And then I enlisted in the Marine Corps in 1918. And I never got overseas. I was too young, and I didn't get in till the very end. But you know, we had a student Army Corps here, wooden rifles and all that thing, you know. I think that, well, another thing, in addition to the predominance of the Anglo-Saxon stock, and the Irish and the Scotch, I mean British. And I think that Mr. Taft and the faculty were very strongly pro-Ally. And I think that had something to do with it, too. Further than that, I don't believe I can analyze it.
Yeah, and it must be awfully difficult to do that. Well, would you just like to talk about what it was like at school during that period? Just when you were at school, what it was like here?
Well, we all loved the school. We all groused an awful lot because it was a very tough, hard work, a very strict discipline, although very fair discipline. We had early lights out, and we had study hall, and we all groused about the food, which was perfectly nutritious and good, but, you know, I guess they do it now.
Yeah.
Classes were small. In science, for example, we didn't go beyond elementary mathematics, algebra, plane geometry, solid geometry, trigonometry. I don't remember whether we had any calculus or not. But of course, the country wasn't as scientifically minded then. As I say, the emphasis was still on the classics, and on history, and on English literature, and on the languages. And they really drilled us. They were good. Great faculty.
Would you like to talk about the faculty?
Well, I don't know that I can say much more than I've already said, because Mr. Taft was a tremendous character, and his faculty were very capable, very excellent. Mr. Roberts was the head of the Latin department. Mr. Jolene, Greek. Mr. McIntosh, history. Garfield Wells, mathematics. George Wilson, mathematics. Charlie Well, English. Harry Wells, French. Newton Hobart, German. That was the type of courses we had. They were all good, and they were all excellent teachers. Excellent teachers.
How about the atmosphere of the school?
The atmosphere of the school was good, and it was quite religious. I don't know whether you have it now or not, but we had a Taft School Christian Association, and we used to have a meeting every Sunday evening. And, it was a pretty God-fearing, religious atmosphere. I don't mean crushing down on you or anything like that, but it was a tremendous emphasis on school spirit, for example, and fairness and decency. And I think they did a good job. See, they were trying to build character as well as nurture the intellect.
How about Mr. Harley Roberts? Did you know anything about his little escapades with the sheep or the farm?
Well, oh yes, I knew that he was very instrumental in developing this golf course here, you know. And so one summer he imported a drove of sheep, which he herded up from the railroad station, thinking that they would trim the fairways, you know. The guy probably cost him a lot of money, and I don't think it accomplished much, but it was good fun. And then, oh yes, the last year that I was here, the school started a farm up on Nova Scotia Hill, which is way over on the East Ridge over there. And the emphasis then, of course, was food. More food, and so Taft had their little Taft farm. The boys came back in the summer and worked on it.
Did they work on it during the regular school year?
No, well, I imagine they did after I left. But this started just at the end of 1917.
Just when the war began.
Yes, and a number of us in my class came back in the summer and worked on the farm, hoeing corn, cabbages, and what have you.